Hi everyone, what's going on? I was recently going through this library called Next-auth. It is a very popular library to implement authentication in Next.js application. So Next.js has capabilities to render React components on server side. This brings some additional challenges in how you handle authentication both on client components and server rendered components. This makes a lot of things easy with the hooks and other functions it provides. It also has seamless integration with other OAuth providers like Google GitHub, which I would also be showing in this video. So let's just quickly see the demo, see the application in action. This is obviously written in Next.js. I also have the backend written in FastAPI, which I would be covering later. So as you can see, I was able to log in successfully. Just ignore the styling scheme. Okay. So if you are able to log in successfully, you should be able to see the logged in details in this profile section. Let's quickly see this Google Auth in action. Let me choose the account with which I want to log in, and as you can see, I was able to log in. Okay, let's just switch account and make sure that it still works. As you can see, this is still working. Okay, so all good. There would be a lot of things to learn, so I hope you stay till the end of this video. In terms of features, there isn't a lot to talk about. Just how I did this, what library functions I used, so these things. I do have this article on Medium, which is written by me. I would be using this as a reference to determine the sequence of steps which I would be going through in this video. Okay, I would be focusing on local authentication first, and then if time permits, I would be going through Google authentication and some of the steps where we would create project, create client IDs and client secrets. Okay, so yeah, stay tuned. So let's just go through the repository. I would assume that you have some familiarity with Next.js and FastAPI, but the principle here remains the same. So even if you use a different combination, let's say you want to use Next.js with Django, this should work as well. I mean, there would be a few changes here and there, but the core principle, that is not going to change. Okay, so yeah, I want to talk about this function which I have imported from Next-auth. The path where I have kept this is inside app API auth. Okay, even in auth we have Next-auth folder, and there's this route.js which has the following contents. This should not be surprising in case you have been working with Next.js, because this is the typical folder structure Next.js expects. Of course, you can also make API calls. So this is where Next.js expects your API calls to be there. Okay. So I would be ignoring these things for the time being. Let's just concentrate on credentials provider. So this is used for authenticating using your custom backend, which in my case I have written FastAPI. Okay, so this FastAPI instance is running on another terminal using another instance of VS Code. So yeah. Here we have this credentials block. I'm just going to start from the top. Okay, so credentials is basically the fields which we want to use for authentication. Here we are using email and password. You might as well use username in case of in place of email. Okay, you pass these credentials in the authorize function, which is like the core of this authentication scheme. Okay, This makes the API call here, and in case the API call was successful, we would get a response 200. Okay, and then the response data would be passed along into the callback functions. We have a JWT callback function and a session callback function. So the response which we get is first transferred to this JWT function, where we can check the contents of this user parameter and then populate the contents of the token parameter. Okay, I have this conditional block applied because there is a difference in what response we receive from Google and what response we get from the local the FastAPI backend which I am using. Once you return token, this token is then passed along to this session callback, where some session variables are initialized, and these session variables are accessible throughout the application. So be it a component rendered on the client side or a server side component, these variables would be accessible. Okay, so we would be covering those things in little more detail. Please feel free to check this blog post in case I do miss a few things in this video. Okay, so yeah, just for reference. So going back to the code base, the next thing I wanted to cover is obviously we are using this JWT strategy, and the secret is coming from the env file. So make sure that you have env file there in your project, just like this. Okay, so this is where you would house your secrets, Google and GitHub secrets. I am not going to show you the actual env file because that is where my actual secrets are. Okay, so those are meant to be kept secrets. Okay, so let's just visit the login page and see this in action. So I have imported quite a few functions from Next-auth React, sign in, sign out, and use session. So sign in and sign out, as the name explains itself, this would be used to sign in using different strategies available. Okay, so here on line number 29, I am using credentials, which is the local strategy which I defined. And this would call the FastAPI instance. Okay, and I also have this function which calls this Google version of the sign in. Okay, so where behind the scenes it would see if Google ID and secrets are provided, and it would trigger the Google authentication workflow using the OAuth strategy. Okay, and once the response is available, the response would be transferred to this token and then session. Okay, which we already covered earlier. So coming back to the login page, now the purpose of session. Okay, so session is a hook, so that's why I have used the use client at the very top of this component, because this component is meant to be rendered on the client side. So after we read the session data, okay, we have data available like username, for example, username or email. We can check for session existence and if a variable user exists or not, and conditionally we can show it on the template. Okay, that's what I am doing here. And also on click, I would simply trigger the sign out function, which would clear the session data and ask you to log in again. So this is it. Coming to the provider hook. Okay, because this session is kind of like a hook, it would expect you to provide a context. Okay, so this context is passed in the layout.js file, at least in my case. Okay, so at the top inside app, we have this layout.js. Okay, so this is the auth provider. I would just show the structure of auth provider, but I have defined it inside the components folder and imported it, and basically wrapped the entire application inside it. So this auth provider would be made available throughout the application. Now just let's see how this auth provider looks like. If you go to components, it basically just imports session provider from Next-auth, and whatever components we expect to be passed inside it as children, it would basically wrap all of those components inside the session provider. So this is the reason why we are able to access session data. Let's just navigate to profile page, which is actually an authenticated page where if the users are not authenticated, they should not be able to access that. In the profile page, again, we have used use session. We have extracted data and status from this use session hook, and this status is something like an asynchronous operation which checks if the user is actually authenticated or not. So inside this use effect, we are actually checking if this status is not equals to unauthenticated. If it is unauthenticated, so inside this use effect, we are actually checking if this status is unauthenticated. If it is, we would use router and push the user to login page. A router is used through this next navigation. Okay, again, this is a wrapper around the React router which we use. Okay, in the another use effect hook which has session as a dependency, we are checking if the session data is available. More precisely, we look for a JWT token. Okay, so while registering through a local FastAPI backend, we generated a token which we saved as a response. Okay, in session. So once it is available from the session, it would add it in the authorization header as a bearer token. So this token would then facilitate the backend access and without any errors. And then upon successful completion, we just set the profile data which we have defined using setState here. Okay, so that's it. Let's talk about Google Authentication now. I am inside this Google Cloud Console. I have already created quite a few projects here. If you haven't created one, please create using this option. Once you create the project from the menu, you would have a lot of options. You need to pick this credentials, okay, because you want to generate a pair of client ID and client secret. This would be used by Google to track your app usage. Once you go inside your created credentials, it would ask few things. This JavaScript origin is like it basically wants to know what's your host name, where your application is hosted. I put in their localhost because as of now it's not deployed anywhere, so this should be fine. And upon successful authentication following this OAuth flow, it wants to redirect to a certain URL. So this is the URL which the Next-auth application expects. Okay, so once the authentication is successful, this would be visited with the response data. So that is it. I hope you got to learn a lot of things from this video. If you do, please give a like and please subscribe to my channel for more tech related contents. I'll see you in the next video. Till then, goodbye and take care.